Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. It is I coming at you once again, your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg. And today I have something of a treat. I've got a very special guest, but let me give you some context. I had the opportunity to speak with Jeff Fisher. In this fandom, in the Star Wars fandom, he is best known for voicing the Jedi youngling Petro from the Clone Wars Season 5. Petro was one of the 6 Jedi students, along with Ganodi, Katuni, Bimth, Zat, and Gunji, who went to the planet Ilum to find their lightsaber crystals. And you know, Petro is one of those characters, just like so many of the kids I just mentioned, that we never found out what happened to him when the Clone Wars ended. Did he die during Order 66? There have been many theories over the years. Did Petro become an Inquisitor? And are we going to see him again? Could he be someone who reemerges much further down the line? In either case, so far the only youngling in Petro's class who's made a resurgence is Gunji the Wookiee in the Bad Batch, and that appearance is proof to me that maybe these younglings are on Dave Filoni's mind. He might want to do something more with them. And so, in my conversation with Jeff Fisher, we spoke about various things. I don't know if you guys know this, I don't really talk about my interests outside of Star Wars, but I'm a big fan of American Dad. So we did talk a bit about Jeff, but then we spoke about Dave Filoni, what it was like working on Star Wars compared to his other stuff. And this is when he mentions a cancelled Clone Wars spin-off show that was originally going to release before the Bad Batch, but it never came about, and it was one of the final things George Lucas worked on before selling Lucasfilm. A pilot episode was written, and it was developed alongside the Clone Wars Season 5, and it was going to be about the younglings from those episodes. In November of 2016, just before the release of Rogue One, Pablo Hidalgo confirmed this series was once in the works, but it was scrapped. Given the fact we're expecting some kind of announcements at Star Wars Celebration for Star Wars animation, maybe they'll adapt the stories of the likes of Petro or Katuni in the future, if they're alive. But Jeff Fisher finally opened up about it, and here's what he said.
You know, Dave Filoni is really one of the greatest people on the planet. I loved doing Star Wars Clone Wars. He was brilliant, and Ashley Eckstein was incredible, and, you know, everyone on that show was legendary, you know, Jim Cummings, and, you know, the list is long, and I had so much fun with everyone. You know, American Dad, we record on our own, right? We're not in a booth with everyone. I don't even get to work with Rachel. You know, they take us in one at a time, and it's very solitary, and, like, Dave sets up the studio for Star Wars, Clone Wars, and all those jobs. Every actor's on the stage together. You're working off each other. It's a really beautiful thing. And Dave tells stories, and he gives you background. He's so brilliant about the Star Wars universe. He's really one of my favorite human beings, and just an incredible director. I was so sad. You know, they were supposed to spin that off and do a Star Wars, Clone Wars Younglings series. And George Lucas had them cut all the episodes together. They played it in a theater. They got a standing ovation. George was like, let's do it. And then when Disney bought Lucas, they kiboshed it. And Dave told me that story, and I was heartbroken. But you know what? It's like, that's just the business. And one day, maybe it would have been amazing. I hope to do that. That was really a fun part. People are like, why'd you use your voice when you played Petro? And it was like, I got the audition for that. It didn't say Star Wars. I thought it was written as a high school comedy. And it was just a high school show. Junior high school. So I used my voice because I was like, oh, it's young. I'm going to play this. It was written very natural. And then when I booked it, I didn't have a clue. It was Star Wars. I was playing a young Jedi. I had no idea. But they booked me, and it was too late to change my voice. I booked the job so that when people ask me, I'm like, yeah, well, that's why. Because we had no idea it was a Star Wars thing. And so, you know, anyway, it was amazing. And I'm so grateful for that job and for Dave Filoni. And I don't watch too many Star Wars Disney Plus shows. I don't have it right now. I've had it. I should get it back. I try to watch everything D. Bradley Baker's in, but I have not watched Bad Batch. And I know he was so proud of that. And I really would love to see that. But I would love to see D in that. And I heard that was an amazing show.
I'm not them.
Listen, in my mind, Petro is still alive. Now, I'm no expert. Dave has not told me what's happening. But what he did tell me years ago was that they were going to make a spin-off of the Younglings and do a show. And George Lucas was really into it. I'm hoping that Petro is still alive. I think, why would George want to do a spin-off with all the younglings if secretly we weren't? So I'm still holding out hope. I don't know if it would ever happen, but, one of the greatest times of my lives was being able to do that show. So many stories left to tell.
It seems like the overall consensus from most Star Wars fans is because of Yoda's vision in Season 6, Petro probably did die, and so did Katuni. But you know the saying in Star Wars, no body, no death. I would love if Petro was still alive. And if Lucasfilm Animation and Dave Filoni want to bring the character back, you know they will. Like I said, they did it with Gungi. I think being a young Wookiee definitely helped in terms of strength, but in the case of the others, because they weren't full knights, they wouldn't have had a very good chance during Order 66. And I have to wonder, when Lucasfilm made the vision in Season 6, was that their way of shutting down the possibility of their survival? Given George Lucas's spin-off never happened, given the fact they were never seen again, was that their way of telling the audience those characters were going to perish in the Great Jedi Purge? I'm going to say no, because Gungi was in that vision too, and they brought him back, so it doesn't mean anything. And for Petro, we never had a confirmed death. In terms of upcoming Star Wars shows, the live-action side is slowing down, whereas the animated shows might be ramping up. The future is very bright. There have been lots of teasers, plenty of rumors, job listings on Lucasfilm Animation's website. Something big is coming. Whether it's a Rex and Echo focus series, something with Omega's future. If you're a Clone Wars fan, this is a very exciting time. I'm keeping my fingers crossed Lucasfilm answers mysteries as to where certain characters went. But as you're going to see, my dear friends, it further raises another question as to how much of the recent stuff originated with ideas from George Lucas. The maker himself is the one who came up with the idea for the Bad Batch. I'm talking about the original members, not Omega. However, an interview with D. Bradley Baker from a few years ago has resurfaced, and Star Wars fans are now wondering, did George Lucas give Dave Filoni the idea for Omega? Or an alternative question, did Dave Filoni come up with the idea of Omega over a decade ago? In 2011, in an interview with IGN, D. Bradley Baker recalled early conversations with George and Dave about the nature of the clones, and what was alluded to is that, with Jango Fett's death, as the war progressed, due to a shortage of usable genetic samples, the Kaminoans would get more desperate. And this is why Omega was so valuable. So I wonder, in conversations between George and Dave, they came up with a sort of contingency. So maybe the idea of an Omega-like clone was conceived of long before the character had a name. Just some interesting food for thought. And going forward, if they do explore her journey with the rebellion, if they ever confirm if she has the Force, I wonder if more of George's ideas feed into it.